following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Let's go, baby.
Are you ready for a break?
Yes,
Are you ready for a break?
absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com
We were on the break.
with Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Tuesday, September 21st, 2021, Season 17, Episode number 25. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Nick, give me a 25.
Oh, Junior Tadalatasi. That is my favorite player, my favorite name of all time. He played a running back in 1989.
I was about to say, that was before my time.
Junior
I remember that name.
Tadalatasi. I mean, that I just love the name.
I
don't know.
just love that you're like confidently and I assume correctly pronouncing it.
Yeah, I think
like-
so. I don't know.
Tadalatasi.
If that guy joined the team today, you'd be like, I'm calling you Junior till you make the team. I don't care.
Yeah,
Whatever.
in '89, he was on the team, but I mean that didn't mean anything. Everybody was on the team.
Tadalatasi. Okay. It kind
Yeah.
of rolls off the tongue. I kind
I
of
like it. Yeah,
Right.
I don't think he was a good player, but
probably not.
but you know, if you only played on the 1989 Cowboys and like no other team,
Yeah.
and he might have played for I don't know, maybe he played for the Eagles. I don't know, but I'm just saying, you know, just because you played on the '89 Cowboys doesn't mean you're a great NFL player.
Was our guy Charlie Williams 25?
He was. He also was
Yeah.
42. I like Charlie
I
Williams.
wish he would have said 25 for Charlie because that's my dude. Like,
I
I
like
haven't
him.
seen him in a long time. He used to come around a lot when we
Cool
were back in
dude.
Valley Ranch.
I
but
like Charlie.
I don't see him a
but
lot these
you
days.
don't get many opportunities to say Junior Talatasi.
Good point.
So,
Played for the Eagles for 3 years,
Did he?
and 89 with the Cowboys was his final year in football.
So he's a 4-year pro.
It's a fitting guy. He played for both of the teams that are playing this week.
There we go. Look at Nick. That's my dude.
There we go.
All right, we got
Backed
a lot
into
we're gonna
that
talk
one.
about today. We got a lot we're going to talk about today. We actually are going to yesterday. The Cowboys gave us an opportunity. The media gave the media the opportunity to talk to the coordinators, offense, defense, and special teams. There were some things that came out of those press conferences that I thought we'd dissect today. We're going to start first with the offense. Kellen Moore. I was looking at some of the numbers through 2 games, and obviously let's put this in context. It's 2 games. This is not what you are for the season. It's just 2 games, but it does give us a little bit of an indication on some things. Right now, the Cowboys' offense is 4th in total offense. They're 7th in rushing offense, 6th in passing offense. Here was the part that was interesting to me. They're 14th in points scored. Why do you think they're so much lower in the amount of points that they're scoring relative to the number of yards that they're getting both overall and pass and rushing?
Well, they sucked out loud in the red zone in week 1. I think that's and then.
That's what I'm pointing at. It was my red drink.
Oh, thank you.
Fred.
Sorry. I was like, I don't know what's going on over there, but I'm just going to answer the question.
Sorry.
Nick's on another one today. If you
Yeah,
haven't
for
noticed.
real.
Like he's
sorry.
on one today. That's good. That's good. I like the energy. Keep going, Dave.
They were awful in the red zone in week 1, and then week 2 was a very shortened game, for one thing. The Cowboys only had 7 possessions. They only made it into the red zone 3 times. So, yeah, I think that's the main culprit, if I had to guess.
How do they get better?
They don't play as good a defense as the Bucs and maybe the Chargers. I mean, last year, if you think about it, they won a couple games, and then the knock was they haven't beaten any team with a winning record and all that. Okay, that stuff's out the window. They've played 2 good football teams, I think, and they've won one of them, had a chance to win the other one, had a chance to lose this one. So I mean, it evened out. But I think the competition won't be as good, and I think that they're getting their pieces back too. I mean, they're figuring this thing out on offense. I don't know if Lyle Collins helps a lot more. Obviously, he's better, so he'll come in and they'll just be kind of a well-oiled machine. I think that they'll, figuring out things in the red zone with Pollard and because think about it, the Pollard touchdown I think helped the Zeke touchdown. I mean, I just think when you're showing things wide like that, then you can run up the middle. So I think that they're going to be fine. I think that I saw some encouraging things out of the red zone this last week.
You mentioned the Chargers, and I think we all agreed, even last week we agreed that they are a good team. I started thinking about it in context, and I'm still kind of torn on where I think they are relative to other teams in the league, and specifically even in their own division. If I had to put them in order, I think they're probably the third best in their own division. I would say the Raiders and the Chiefs are probably better teams at this point, but I don't know that for sure. And Denver is 2-0. We don't know what they're going to turn out to be. I don't think they're that great, but I think obviously they're 2-0 right now. Do you think when it's all said and done that, because you got to go through that division, do you think that that's going to be a really tough road for the Cowboys if that's if they end up being the third best team in that division?
For the Chargers, you mean?
Yeah, I'm talking about the Chargers. Yes.
I think they're going to go as far as Herbert's development takes him. I mean, he has it all in terms of just how good, strong, all that stuff. But he makes some bad decisions in the red zone too. I think they've had 3 turnovers in the red zone in their first 2 games that probably that cost them a win. There could have cost them another one. So if he continues to make develop and all that, he's got all the tools. I think he'll, if he gets a big jump in his development, I think then they can probably be the second best team in that division.
I think for all the jokes we make about the Cowboys, I think the Chargers are one of the more uniquely snake-bitten teams in the NFL. Like, it seems they always have a good roster, and like they've had years. It was a while ago at this point. It was when Rivers was still closer to his prime, but they were like best in the league in offense and defense, and finished with a losing record. They were good last year and finished 7-9. And then 2 years ago, like the very last good year of Rivers' career, they went 12-4 and they upset the Chiefs and looked like they were going to make a run. So I guess my point is I think they've had a better roster than their record implies the vast majority of the last decade, probably.
Well, and the key is they've had a quarterback for a long time, which is not what most franchises can say.
They've got a worse record in one-score games over the last few years than the Cowboys do, which is something to think about. I don't know. That's a college football thing for me. I don't care. Like, I don't know if I think the Raiders are better than the Chargers just because they're 2-0 right now, and it doesn't really matter. You just win the games in front of you. I think.
Well, all those teams are going to be in front of you. I mean, that's kind of part of the.
But I guess my point is, I'm not concerned about the quality of this win in terms of like how good are the Chargers. I do know they had their offense at close to full health. They didn't have their right tackle, but they have a very nice receiving core and one of the better quarterbacks they're going to play this year. I feel confident saying that. Mahomes is better. Who else they have to play this year? Brady was better.
Right, Brady.
But like one of the 5.
I was going to say, I'm having a hard time coming up with ones I think are better than this.
One
team.
of the 5 best quarterbacks on the schedule they just beat.
Well,
that's huge.
We ranked it back in the summer.
Where did y'all have him?
I think he was 4th or 5th.
Okay.
Matt Ryan. Some people view him better just because of, he's a good quarterback. They don't have
Veteran.
a ton of weapons.
Yeah.
Veteran. He's a former MVP. There's also a former MVP that's not on a roster right now. So, I mean, that doesn't always mean anything. But.
Okay, I have the schedule in front of me. I don't have to guess at this anymore. I'm just looking at it. Mahomes, obviously.
Brady, obviously.
And then you can, depending on how you feel, you could argue Kyler Murray and Derek Carr. And really, I only throw.
Kyler Murray's better than Derek Carr, in my opinion.
No, I'm saying Herbert.
Yeah.
And I only even threw Carr in there because he's on fire right now.
Yeah.
Going into the season, I would have been like, Justin Herbert's way better than
Right.
He's having a good first
Ryan,
games. Yeah.
Ryan Cousins.
No, I'll take Herbert over both of those guys.
I would
I'm
too, yeah.
not even hesitating.
Yeah.
So he's right up there. And again, you can a lot of times you can tell the quality of the team by the quality of the quarterback.
I know this has been discussed probably before. I just kind of thought of it when you're talking about their right tackle out. You think Parsons lines up a defensive end if Balaga's out there? Balaga and Slater? You think that they decide to do that? Because if Balaga is better than Slater, then nobody was really going to be getting a lot of pass rush.
That's a good question.
I didn't ever think about it until you just said they were playing without their right tackle, and I was like, man. Because, he kind of worked that guy in the second half.
Honestly, I think
Storm Norton was what people thought Terrence Steele was going to be. There's no doubt about that.
I think they would have still done it because I think they did it not because they wanted to. They did it out of necessity.
Yeah.
Personally. So I think they would have still had the same need to do it, and they still would have done it.
It's a great point, though, because – and that's why – and there's already a lot of talk about like maybe Micah should just play end until DeMarcus Lawrence comes back. I'm like, I don't know if Micah wants the smoke with Lane Johnson on Monday, at least not 40 times like he got on Sunday.
And I think and Dan Quinn put out made a good point when we talked about it yesterday that it's not 70 snaps. You can play 70 snaps at linebacker. You can't play 70 snaps at defensive end. The pass rushing, the going the physical beating that it takes to rush the passer and get up there. Now, I mean, this is going to sound dumb, but I mean, I guess on the offensive side, it's different, because you're not rushing up the field or whatever, chasing guys around. So, but basically what he's saying is that he can only play a limited amount of snaps if you're going to play defensive end. And linebacker, he'll probably be on the field a lot more.
Maybe all the time.
All the time. But he said this week, we moved him for this week. He said he's going to be a really good linebacker for us. He didn't sound like he wanted to make this full-time switch.
Yeah, I'm going to get back to that. I want to get to that, and we'll talk about that when we get into the defensive side. I did have one more question for you guys regarding the offense. Something Kellen Moore said to me kind of stuck out. He said in the press conference that stuck out to me. He said they want to aggressively take what the defense gives them. And I thought it was interesting because it wasn't just like you hear all the time, take what they give you. He said, we want to aggressively take it. And I was just like, okay, so what does that really mean? But the question I have for you guys is, do you like this approach better than having a specific identity that the team goes into? A lot of teams, you kind of know going in, they are a running team, they're going to pound you. Or they are a passing team, they're going to air it out. And for those teams, they do it really, really well. And even though you know it's coming, you can't stop it. Do you think that's better than just having the type of team where you can morph every week and you can try to do both? And by the way, you may not be as great as those teams who do one thing extremely well, but you have two things you can do pretty good.
Isn't that an identity?
Maybe.
That's an identity that you're like, we have studs everywhere, and we will do whatever you think hurts less, and we'll hurt you at it. I love it. I mean, I've talked about it a lot already this season, but I think that's an identity unto itself is – people are all up in arms that the running game really wasn't a part of the week 1 game plan because Tampa is amazing at it. By the way, the Falcons threw the ball 50 times week 2, by the way. Like, people know the book is out. Obviously not on beating Tampa. They're 2-0. But why are you going to bother running into a brick wall? It's a waste of time. So Cowboys come right back.
And you got to keep up with points, by the way.
Chargers are famous. Their Chargers aren't famous. Brandon Staley is famous for playing with a light box. And so they run for 200 yards as a team. And I did love that quote from Kellen because it's kind of an oxymoron, right? But I think that just means we're going to take what you give us, but we're still going to be creative and try to be explosive and make big plays. Whether that's the goofy swinging gate formation with the 3 offensive linemen, or Dak took one deep shot, it wound up getting intercepted. So you could argue maybe that wasn't the best idea, but they tried it. Handing off to CeeDee Lamb. I mean, they made aggressive calls within the flow of the game, but it was within the context of what are the Chargers presenting us.
Yeah, Tyron Smith, Terrence Steele split out left like that. Like,
I liked it personally.
I liked it too.
Loved it.
Yeah.
I didn't like the second down play of it.
I liked the second one.
I was fine with that too because I mentioned in week 1 he did a similar thing. He did something kind of unconventional, and then he came back later in that same drive and tried to use the same kind of unconventional concept, but did something different with it, and it ended up being a big gain for them downfield to CeeDee Lamb. This game, he tried to do the same thing. They did they took a concept, they used it early, and then they tried to lure them.
I liked
in the
it too.
time.
I just think Dak made a bad decision there because he said, I'm going to throw it way out here for a 4-yard loss. So he threw it out here, CD versus Derwin James in the open field. That's probably not a favorable matchup in a one-on-one. But I mean, the best part is you're going to play off of that, and you're going to see it again, and then sooner or later Tyron Smith's going to go out for a pass, and
here we go.
I don't know that. Oh God, I don't know about that.
Slant.
I don't know this for sure.
That's a possession receiver right there.
Zeke ran like a Texas route on that play, and Kenneth Murray is a really good player and just played it really well. And it looked to me like Dak kind of pumped in the direction of Zeke and was like, "That's covered."
But that's what he wanted.
If it hadn't been well covered, it was Zeke had 20 yards between the linebacker and the safety, and so maybe Dak could have thrown that away instead of throwing it to CD. But I like the.
But you know what's going to happen off of that? I think you can do this. I know you can in college. Just wait for that. I'm not giving away any game plans here, but you put the tackles out wide like that, you can put guards out there. Mm-hmm. They're going to sneak a tight end like a Jarwin or something on the line. Mm-hmm. And he will go out there. Because you just could look at it like center and 2 guards, and it's like, well, they're the linemen. One of those guys can be eligible, though. I know you can do that in college. I don't know if you can do it in the NFL, but you just you'll get used to seeing it. You'll get used to seeing these guys, and it'll be one of these guards right up the middle that's going to go. And
going back to your original point on that, I don't know that, like, under those circumstances, if Zeke's covered and that's what you really wanted, I don't think it is a bad decision, rather than throwing it away, to give your guy CD an opportunity to beat a guy in the open field. I don't care who he is. I know Derwin James is a good safety, and he has the ability to tackle in the open field, but CeeDee Lamb also can make guys miss. He also can get off break tackle. So for me, I'm like, give it a 50-50 chance that he actually makes a play out here in the open field and see what you can do. It ended up not working for them, but I love the nature of the call. I love what they were trying to do there.
If you watched last night, and Devontae Adams is an amazing receiver, but he catches a lot of passes within a yard of the line of scrimmage, and they trust him to beat his man, and he does a lot. And I trust CeeDee Lamb to make a guy miss more often than not, but Derwin James is a hell of a player.
Right,
That's
and it
football.
happens sometimes. All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the defensive side of the ball. Nick kind of teed it up for us. We will talk about Parsons and what they think of Parsons. And my question for you guys will be, is Parsons the second best defensive end, or I should say pass rusher, not defensive end, second best pass rusher on this team? We'll talk about that when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way. Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
Back to the break.
Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders making the team is back for another exciting season. Don't miss new episodes every Friday at 9, 8 Central, only on CMT.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of the break live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. I just saw this tweet. This actually may have come out a little earlier, but I just saw that Nick Sirianni, the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, confirmed that Brandon Graham, their defensive end, his season is over after suffering an injury last week. We'll talk about that more tomorrow, but that's a really, really, really big thing for the Eagles with the Cowboys coming up. That's probably their best defensive player, if not their best, among their best defensive players, definitely their best pass rusher. So that'll be huge for the Cowboys, especially, again, once again.
What do they say? What do the kids say? Fletcher Cox has entered the chat. Is that what they say? On
yeah, well,
something like that?
That's always going to be a challenge. But
no, I mean, when you say he is their best defensive player, it's like, well.
Good point. Yeah, good point. But I do think that's something to keep an eye on. That's something to note with the Cowboys this week. Again, we would assume Terrence Steele is going to be the starter again this week, so that'll be a little interesting to see who they're going to put out there that he'll face up against.
Let's talk about Terrence Steele real quick. I know we're going back to defense, but about this matchup, I mean, the Cowboys aren't going to get credit for that, but if he does turn out to be, pretty good option here, good backup. you got to give the Cowboys, not only Joe Philbin, offensive line coach, for working with them, but also last year they stuck with them, and we were all like, why? Yep. Why are they doing this? And they didn't have a lot of options, but they were also building it for down the road, like, let's just keep working with him. And he looked like a guy that was a little bit more polished and not overwhelmed by the situation in the game. And so, they stuck with him last year, and I think for at least one game it paid off.
There's something to be said for them or coaches seeing something in a player and saying, okay, this is a young guy. We see traits that we can develop, and we're going to develop them, and then seeing that work out. It doesn't work all the time, but in this instance, you're right. It may end up being something that works out for them. I'm not ready to say it's there yet. I am willing to say that last week he certainly showed us more than he showed us last year, which means he's getting better.
I think Brandon Knight was a better tackle last year. But
early, I think so. I don't think by the end of the year.
No, I know. Okay. But, I think just better, he was a better tackle. He came in and did a better job. But I think he had more of a ceiling at tackle. Terrence Steele had a bigger ceiling, and they're like, we're just going to go with it, even though, you got to go 2 steps back to kind of go forward. And we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. We'll see. I mean, he had a nice game. He's going to have to keep doing it, though.
Yeah. I will say this. After we talked about it yesterday on the air, I went back and watched some of that game on replay. Still can't get to all 22 yet, but I was able to watch at least a little bit more of him. And one thing I did notice, they did give him a lot of opportunities where he was out there by himself. But it seemed like a lot of those times were when they were getting rid of the ball quick. There were a few times when he got beat, but they were quick throws, so it didn't end up hurting them.
Yeah.
And they tended to give him help when they wanted more, plays that developed needed more time to develop. They tend to give him a little more help. But overall, as I watched him, there were some plays where I was really impressed with him. In the run game, there were some plays he was like throwing guys around.
I mean, like pancakes.
Yeah, he was playing some good football in the run game. So again, he's better than he was last year, and that's all you can ask from a player is, are you getting better every week? And I think he is.
I just think of it as 2 lines of conversation, and it's weird to think about now because it's ancient history. But in that 5-week stretch before Dak got hurt, I was like, y'all are being stubborn. Like, Zach Martin might give you the best chance to give Dak the best chance to win without these tackles. And then once Dak got hurt, I was like, play the young guy who needs to develop. Who gives a damn? Like, sorry, Andy. So once it got to that point, I was like, play him, get him all the experience he needs. But there was a window where I was like, I'm not convinced y'all are doing everything you can to help the quarterback.
Yeah.
But right now, it has paid off because they got all of that time to play him.
If when Lyle does come back, they're probably going to be in the best situation that they've been in, knock on wood, but for an offensive line in a while. When you think about Steele as the backup for both sides, he's played a lot of games. Connor McGovern as a swing guard who also can play some center for you. Then Brandon Knight, a guard who can play some tackle. And I'm not even throwing in Secchi. I want to see kind of what happens with that and Farniok and all that. But you've got young experience that has played and started in games. Yeah. That's with flexibility, position flex.
That was all through the summer. It was like, if Terrence Steele can make a year 2 leap, then it's going to mean a lot for this offensive line. And it's only one game, but it's a hell of an encouraging game.
Yeah, it was. Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the defense. Dan Quinn talked to the media yesterday. My question I came out of it with is, and Nick, I mentioned this to you, we were looking at his stat line, Micah Parsons. He had 1 sack, he had 2 tackles, he had 4 quarterback hits. Dave, you said you saw it. I didn't see it on my stat sheet, but you said you saw somebody credit him with 8 quarterback pressures.
I think it was PFF.
That all being said, like that stat line, if you just saw that stat line for any defensive end in the NFL, you would say he had a really good week. That being said, my question for you is, absent Tank Lawrence, is he the best pass rusher that this team has right now?
I'm not.
Now remember, he did that on 2 days of practice, 2 days of notice.
Yeah.
Not ready to say that until I've had more of a chance to see Randy Gregory.
But I think he's going to be either second or third best pass rusher, and he doesn't have to line up at defensive end to do that.
Right.
So
that's why I was careful not to say defensive end.
Of course, I think he's a really good pass rusher. We saw that. That's one thing that just jumped off the tape in college is that these guys couldn't block him, and competition was going to get better. But he just has a way of kind of knifing through and around people. So, and he did that, and he got better as the game went on and figured that out. And the competition will get better too. But
we talked
8 pressures.
That's what they said. Sounds about right.
But
Especially
that second half,
all
he
I'm
was
saying
back there a lot.
is D-Law. I mean, at the end of the season, 45 pressures was like really good. 45 for a season. So
I don't know.
I'm not good at math.
I don't know what they do on Bolt Talk Weekly or whatever they call it. I'm taking Nick's joke.
Talking bolts.
Talking bolts. I bet they'll be
hanging with the bolts.
I bet they'll be talking about Storm Norton.
What's wrong with that?
Sounds good.
I bet they'll be talking about Storm Norton the way we talk about Chaz Green for a while, if I had to guess.
Wow.
I mean, I know he didn't give up 7.
Whoa.
He annihilated him. He didn't give up.
But he didn't give up that many sacks.
He didn't give up 6 sacks.
Yeah.
But, Micah Parsons wrecked the Chargers' game plan in the second half.
Thunderstorm.
You're still thinking in talk show names?
No, because his name was Storm.
Oh, got it. Sorry.
Storm on the Chargers. Like, that's actually a great name to fit for the team. He might not be there much longer. But
Once Dan
Is he
Quinn
a draft pick? What was his deal?
I don't know.
You don't know anything about
I think he's like a veteran guy that's like just kind of filling in for a hurt guy.
I don't know who he is, but Micah, once they gave up on trying to rush him against Rashawn Slater, he just it wasn't as bad as Chaz Green. Not
He went
wasn't
to a
that
whole
bad.
different level.
But he was in the backfield every other snap.
He was.
really was, and they definitely got away with holding him 2 or 3 times.
They're going to be good. They're going to be good if Balaga comes back and slows that down, because Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and of course Jared Cook. Cowboy fans are tired of seeing that guy. Like Jared Cook, like Jesus,
pops up everywhere.
Yeah, like he goes to different teams and still makes
and it's always
plays.
teams that the Cowboys are playing.
Yeah,
big games.
God.
Yeah. All right.
Parsons.
Yeah, Parsons. Like we already talked about.
I thought I was going back to Parsons.
Okay, yeah, we're back to Parsons. But actually, I wanted to move on from Parsons. Okay. Dallas right now is 28th in sacks, 29th in pressures. How can they get more pressure than what they've gotten to this point? Because obviously we talked about that stat line for Parsons, but really you look across the other guys that are rushing the passer. I don't know that they're getting enough pressure. Now we know week 1 you're playing a quarterback that gets rid of the ball extremely quickly. Do you think it's just who they face to this point, or do you think it's like this is a problem they got to figure out how to get more pressure?
It's a little bit of both. Yeah, these have both been matchups where you're going to be hard pressed. Brady gets rid of the ball super quickly, and Justin Herbert, they might have sacked him 6 times if he wasn't such a freak. And he's not sneaky athletic, like the classic euphemism for a white quarterback. Like he is athletic. He is huge and fast and can get away from pressure. And that's what made Micah's sack so impressive, was that he still got to him.
Yeah.
That's a hard guy to get on the ground. Probably not going to get a lot easier week 3, by the way. Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
And then you didn't have either of your best guys. Maybe it's a homer answer, but I'm just like, well, how much do you want them to do without either of the big guys that they expected to rush the passer this season?
Right now, you say, who are the 2 best quarterbacks they faced? Obviously they faced 2, Brady and Herbert. In 6 weeks, that's still going to be the answer. The best receivers they faced are Mike Evans and Keenan Allen and Godwin and Antonio Brown. And in 6 weeks, the best receivers they're going to face are probably going to be those guys, and then maybe Kenny Galladay if he can calm down. And I love how Kenny Galladay said, "I wasn't yelling at Daniel Jones, I was yelling at Garrett."
I was yelling at.
I was like, "Oh, okay, cool."
That was funny. Yeah.
But
I don't think I've ever heard a player come out and say, "No, I wasn't yelling."
No,
at
not you.
I was yelling at
him
coach.
at
like,
the
it
coach.
was the coach I was yelling.
Yeah,
at.
And everybody was like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense."
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I would yell at Jason Garrett too.
Yeah, but they face some really good. I'm not saying the Eagles don't have talent because Hurts is a different kind of beast. He's running back.
He can be a challenge.
That can throw, and he can throw. I'm not saying he's not a quarterback, because that 80-yard pass to Deshaun Jackson last year, everybody was like, uh-oh. Like,
he
this
had
could be a problem.
He this last game, didn't he?
I haven't seen the.
He can sling it.
I think somebody told. I think I read somewhere he had like a 60 or 70-yard pass this last. It was like they say that was probably the only great play they had. But
he's a lot like Dak to me. He really is.
Yeah.
And the trajectory of his career, I think, is very similar. You're gonna have doubters, but you're like, you know what? He just kind of goes in and does well in games. can figure it out, and he'll figure it out. And if he figures it out before the coordinators figure him out, then I think he's going to be a really good player. It could be a problem for this team, but I still think they face the best receivers and quarterbacks they're going to face in the first month or two.
To get back to the question, which is something that I think about, and I wonder if Dan Quinn will change it. They have not blitzed much yet. And as impressive as Micah looked as an edge rusher, I look at that closing speed and I'm like, this guy,
love it.
Send him through the A gap.
Yep.
And even a guy like Jalen Hurts, he might have the closing speed to get to him. And that is an element that I want to see, and it's why people are talking about moving him to end, and I'm not about it at all, especially in a matchup against better tackles than what the Chargers had out there on the right side. Not saying he shouldn't do it at all. He absolutely should, but that's the fun of a guy like this. He should be doing a little bit of everything, and he keeps answering the bell. So just keep putting more on his plate. If he shows that he can handle it, why stop?
I want to see with a guy like Brady. You're not going to really confuse him, but he's seen it all. But he sees it in his sleep. But, these guys coming up here, and even Herbert, confuse him a little bit. They confused him. If you go back and watch some of those, they did a nice job of kind of showing blitz, backing off. He was kind of making the wrong read, wrong decision there. So I want to put Parsons up the middle on the A gap. I want to put him at the end. I want Hurts looking for him. Daniel Jones and Mac Jones and Darnold, who's coming up here. I mean, he's sort of a veteran, but I'm just saying, just show Parsons at all spots.
And whatever point they can have one of these dominant or both of these the most dominant pass rushers that the Cowboys have at defensive. Once they can get those guys back, and now teams start looking for Parsons and he lines up on one side and they slide protection to that side, and now you've got that frees up a guy on the other side to now have a one-on-one. That's where you really start hitting
what it means to call him a queen on the chessboard.
Yeah, exactly.
People that just
want
to...
But he's a rook. Sorry.
Wow, that's a good. No, that was really good. Which actually, I was about to call him a rook, not in the punny way. I was like, if you just want to move him to end, you're just creating a rook. You're just a guy that goes straight to the quarterback, which he's good at, but you want him to be as three-dimensional as possible. Wow, I can't get over that. That was quality.
No, but that's the point. Like, he's too good and too versatile for you to just put him at defensive end.
Right.
You really want to put him everywhere, and you want to make defenses have to account for the fact that he can line up anywhere, and they're going to have to account for him, and wherever he lines up, that's just one more thing they got to prepare for, one more thing they got to do every time they come to the line of scrimmage, just figure out where he is and try to adjust to that. All right, we're going to take our final break. When we come back, we'll talk some about the special teams. John Fossil had something to say yesterday about that decision to try to go and get that punt. We'll tell you what he had to say, and we want to get some opinions from you guys on that.
We'll tell you what Jerry Jones said about it as well today.
Awesome. We'll do when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. Before you can park yourself in front of the game, park yourself in a John Deere and power through your chores. Our Land Run package is a 1025R, 25 horsepower tractor with a loader, rotary cutter, and a box blade for $229 a month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay, no surprises. So don't miss another kickoff.
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now let's get to work.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit AT&T.com for details.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar. And a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. And a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
Back to the break.
Football season is definitely here. That means it's time for some new gear. That rhymed. Just head to the Pro Shop, your official store, Cowboys Nation. Score some classics like your favorite player jerseys, tees, and hats, plus exclusive collections and unique accessories.
Exclusive.
Visit your local Dallas Cowboys Pro Shop or online, shopdallascowboys.com.
Welcome back to the final segment of the break, live from SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We are talking about the coordinators. They met with the media yesterday. We got to talk about special teams. John Fossil said something in his press conference yesterday that made me raise my eyebrows, and I'm sure it probably did for a lot of people out there. When asked about the decision what their decision was as far as a situation where the Cowboys went and got called for roughing the kicker on a punt, his response was, and I'll read it, and this was the quote. He says, "I think Cowboys fans aren't the play it safe type. I was going to give them what they wanted. Hope they are happy."
They're not happy.
Well, but let's slow down just a bit. I kind of want to take it back first and explain what happened on that play. What did he say happened? What was the decision, and how did they get to that point of even having guys that end up rolling into the punter?
I think it goes way back before that. This guy wants to be involved with everything. Okay, he does not. This isn't the third phase of it. He wants to be involved. Let's look at him at training camp. He's got the referee shirt on. He's got the whistle. He's got a mic. He's yelling. He wants to be aggressive. Those fake punts and all this stuff. He can't just sit there and just let the game go to him. He's trying to dictate the game, and I think Mike McCarthy they give him a little too much leeway on it. There's no reason to rush the punt right there. Yes, you could block it, but the way Dak and them are moving the ball, they can move the ball. Don't take the ball out of Dak's hands. He's the best player on the team right now. So that was just like Dave said yesterday. Risk reward. It's not there. Did they kind of block him into it? Maybe, but that's not a reviewable play. You know, Dave said all this yesterday, and I totally agree. That ref is looking. Does the punter get hurt? Does he get hit? A. B. Does he go to the ground? Yes. Wow, that's 15 yards. No doubt about it.
That's all they care about. It's the same. And if a guy comes anywhere near a quarterback below the knee, the same flag's going to fly regardless.
The neck.
And guess what? You can get thrown into the quarterback by his offensive tackle, and the refs don't care.
And they'll block a punt this year. They'll block a punt.
You think so?
Yeah, probably.
They haven't done it in years.
If they're rushing like this, they probably will. They'll block one. But is it going to be worth it at the end of the day?
I'm glad you mentioned that, and I brought it up yesterday. Week 1, Pittsburgh did block a punt. It was a game-changing block. They scored a touchdown off the scoop and score, helped them upset the Bills. Pittsburgh's offense sucked in that game. They could not move the ball. Big Ben looks washed as hell. You know who looks great? Dak and the Cowboys offense. You know what I'd rather have? The ball at the 20 or 25. I don't remember. Do you remember where CD Fair caught it before it got moved back?
I want to say it was around the 10 or 15, but I don't know. I might be wrong.
It's a long field. Yeah. I don't care. They had already scored 14 points.
And by the way, it's. I think at that point they were going to be down 2 minutes left.
They had a minute 53 to play, and they would have had 2 timeouts to work with.
So most likely
you're getting
a field goal. You're getting points, or you're not giving them the ball back. One of the two. But either way, nothing bad comes from that, right?
And I think that was just John Fossil's way of kind of being funny about I thought y'all want us to be aggressive, and I do. I want you to be aggressive, but not reckless. And I think that was reckless.
Well, let me ask you this, because I think it even goes back to last year. There were some decisions that were made, and a lot of decisions are revolving around special teams.
Faking a punt on your own 20 in a Thanksgiving game that you're still in on 4th and 10, that's reckless.
Right.
Going for it. You know what we haven't mentioned one freaking time? Was when they went for it on 4th down in the first half. I'm looking at that right now.
Yeah,
turnover on downs.
4th
and 5 on the other side of the field. That's aggressive. Doing it on your own 20 is reckless.
Well, also, if you're going to go for it, see, I don't think that the special teams in this team, I don't think special teams has to be aggressive at all. You do not have to be aggressive. You don't really have to run a lot of fake punts unless you just absolutely see something that will work, go for it. But the Chris Jones pass to C.J. Goodwin on 4th and 5 that they threw it down and he dropped it, well, your punter's throwing to a cornerback who can't get on the field as a cornerback. Why don't we just let Dak throw it to Amari? Different coverage probably, but I'll take my chances. Now, that 4th and 5, I hated that because he ran a 14-yard route when the guy was off of him. Get to the sticks. 7 yards, stop. That's pitch and catch all day. They ran a 14-yard route and went low. That didn't make sense to me. But either way, I just don't think this is a team that needs to be aggressive because if you want to really go for it on 4th down, get your Pro Bowl quarterback throwing to your Pro Bowl receiver with Pro Bowl blockers in front. Not, who's the punter? Anger throwing it to Goodwin with, Jabril Cox blocking up front.
I'm not all the way. I agree with you for the most part, but I kind of like knowing that that's in their bag of tricks, and we know for a fact that teams are going to change the way they play the Cowboys because of Fossil's reputation. I think that gives you something, and they'll steal a possession or maybe even score points because of that at some point this season.
Punters want to play for him because their net average is going to be outstanding because everyone's worried about a fake, so they just punt it up high, fair catch, and that's it.
I mean, the fake against Pittsburgh last year was incredible, and that was fun, and I like knowing that has the potential to happen on any given Sunday, but I don't think this was the time for that call.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dave. When it comes to the whole nature of it being, reckless versus something that's just aggressive, I like the aggressive mindset because I do think you'll create opportunities for yourself, and if nothing else, you give a team that much more that they have to prepare for on a given week, and you only got so much time in the week. So if you give them a little extra that they got to deal with, what else are they neglecting to spend time on in order to make sure they spend time on that? So I do like that.
Yeah.
I just think there are times when the timing just not right.
This opens up another discussion, but to me, 15-yard penalties that are automatic first downs need to be reviewed, in my opinion. And a play like that needs to be reviewed because that is a turnover, really. And I'm not saying it probably wouldn't have changed, but it's such a bang play that if the guy gets blocked into, and you can kind of block him into the guy, if that happens, they need to review that. Yeah. I don't know if they want to, but I'm just saying.
I have no faith that they would have overturned it anyway.
I don't think so either in that case, but I do think that there's some times where it kind of gets a little muddy in there like that, and then
So, and that's
a turnover.
That's what makes it so risky is, again, the Cowboys didn't technically do anything wrong, but the refs don't care. They saw the punter fly up in the air and hit the ground.
They're protecting him, I've seen a lot worse, where the foot doesn't come down all the way, it just kind of hits a player like in a back. Yeah. Not he doesn't even go to the ground. It's just his foot can't come down, and they call that as a 15-yard penalty.
Yeah. Another thing that was interesting to me on this topic, Fossil said that it was his call. He makes a decision when he wants to try those kinds of things. My question for you guys is, should it be? Is this when you're the head coach and you got a special teams coordinator that tends to be aggressive and can do it at a lot of different points in a game, is it a better situation for the coach to be the one either making those calls or making sure he has to check with him before making those calls if the head coach is responsible for managing the entire game and you're trying to play complementary football?
I love the idea that the coordinator makes the call. The head coach should have a final say over whether it should happen. I mean, it's Mike McCarthy's job to manage the ebbs and flows at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I don't expect Mike McCarthy to say, I like this look. This is a good spot for this. Like, that's John Fossil's job to know the ins and outs of what their coverage looks like and stuff like that. But he should click in and be like, hey, Mike, this is what we're thinking. What do you think? And Mike's like, yes or no. If he's making that call and the head coach is just as surprised as the rest of us about what happened, no, I don't like that at all.
Did you get that impression? Because that's the impression I got from the way he was talking was like, I just make the call. It's almost like you call in an offensive play or a defensive play from the offense or defensive coordinator, and you don't necessarily check with the coach on every call. Yeah. And it makes it seem like he just makes this call by himself without really. And I don't know if that's the truth. That's just the impression I got from what he was
the
saying.
head coach gets on there for everything and says, "Hey, let's."
Yeah, I mean, it all happens in his ear, so I would imagine.
But the head coach can get in there and say, "Hey, let's back off here. Let's get a safe return. Let's be smart here." But you're also thinking too, like, this is the difference between maybe going to get a touchdown and a field goal. because you get the ball to your 15-yard line, you're probably going to get in range for a field goal. You get a punt block there, and even if you just recover it right there, now you're thinking, let's go get a touchdown. The problem is you got a penalty. It should have been a 6-point swing. 3 points off the board for you, 3 points for them. But they missed the field goal.
Yeah.
So, because of Fossil's great defensive block. Here, I got another issue with Fossil, too, and somebody pointed this out.
And another thing.
I got another thing. Okay, this aggressive guy wants to be aggressive. Do you know how many guys rushed the kicker for the Buccaneers game-winning field goal? 6. 6 out of the 11. The other 5 were they pulled back at the last second. Jalen Smith's back there. Obviously, the Bucs
have a good shot.
Obviously, the Bucs are going to run a fake there with 2 seconds to go, so they could, instead of winning by 3, they want to win. What? I mean, why aren't we sending 11? Why aren't we sending 11? And if we rough the kicker, we rough the kicker. That's one I don't understand. I thought we were super aggressive here, trying to block a kick and win the game.
That is if there's a scenario where murdering the kicker is okay, that's
just
it.
Go for it.
Yeah. What's the worst that's going to happen?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he misses, and then you get to another 15 and all that. But if you murdered him, like you said, then they
it's
don't
worth
have
a shot. You don't have a kicker at this point. Your kicker's gone. We took care of that.
Everyone has a backup Heath, like a backup.
That's right.
I wonder who the backup kicker for the Cowboys is. Well, because it'd probably be Anger, but then you have a backup holder.
Cedric Wilson. He does everything else.
Micah Parsons.
Interesting.
Let's just
Probably
throw
could.
him out there. Let him do everything.
Interesting.
I don't see why not. He hasn't done. I don't think they found anything yet he can't do. So keep giving him
I
stuff.
bet Schultz could do it. I don't know. I just feel. Maybe. I don't know. It's
okay.
Possible.
All right. Let's grab a phone call. We got a call from Matt in Jersey. Matt, what up?
What's going on, Breaks?
What's up,
going
Matt?
on, boys?
Hey.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Had a great victory Monday. You really got on the Fossil topic, I was going to say, because I am a fan, and it's not what I want to see. I mean, kind of cute, aggressive call. I like your point topics, gives other teams something to look at down the year. But are these coaches a little bit surprised in the way this defense is playing from last year? They're not. I don't know what they saw in camp, but what I'm seeing in these first 2 weeks is a really, really kind of a solid defense. 3 and out right there. We got a couple 3 and outs. We got an interception earlier. We got another late interception. I'm just saying, why would you even attempt when the offense was rolling? Can you tell me the score at that particular time of the game? Was it 14-3 or
11.
14 to 11?
It was 14-11. Exactly. We're getting the ball back to take more time off the clock to be honest, Herbert is going to take over control of the league. Honestly, we're taking the ball out of a really good passer's hand and putting it into our good passer's hand. And to call that play right there, is Dan Quinn a little upset that his defense got a 3 and out and then it has to come right back on the field?
All right, thanks for the call.
Probably.
I mean, good question.
I'm sure
they're not
it
going to
was.
tell us that anyway.
Yeah.
but-
I mean, I'm sure it's not like, all right, let's go do it again, guys. Let's go. Let's get back out there. We just did our job. We'll have to do it again.
Well,
They did.
Let me ask you this question though, and I don't think nothing that he said suggests that he had this much thought was put into it. But let's assume for a second, could it have been a situation where they trust the defense enough to say, this is worth the risk, because if something does go bad, we've seen this defense can stiffen up. Especially they can stiffen up when it comes to not allowing a touchdown. So the risk is worth the possible reward.
No,
Okay.
It's a 6-point swing because they roughed him into field goal range. I mean, you got to expect it. And McCarthy, if he thinks his kicker could make a 60-yard kick in the middle of the Tampa game, then he probably thinks that the Chargers guy is going to make a 45-yarder. You have to assume that.
Stiffening up is, once the penalty's assessed, they're on the Dallas 39. They need 5 yards to be in makeable field goal
and I
range.
guess that would be the calculation is.
Well, it's a wrong calculation.
But no, hold on. Let me tell you the calculation. The calculation is, worst case scenario, our defense will hold them from getting a touchdown. So the risk here is that we give them 3 points. The reward would be we could possibly get a touchdown. As you said earlier, you get a block, now you're in position where you can actually get a touchdown. You don't have to just get a field goal. So that's where I think the calculation comes in. And by the way, I'm not saying this is what happened, because nothing that John Fossil said suggests that he did that kind of calculation in his head. I'm just saying, would that have been a calculation that made all of us feel better about the decision if that's the way they thought about it?
I just want to, maybe I'm giving Dakota too much credit. Screw a field goal. minute 53 with 2 timeouts.
You can get in the end zone.
Get in the end zone easy. So, no. And then I thought the caller, he didn't directly say this, but he brought up a point that I think is worth remembering as well. The Chargers were getting the ball after halftime.
Mm-hmm.
So you're risking, and lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. You're like, if we mess this up, we're not touching the ball again, and then they get the ball at the start of the third quarter. I don't think there's a way to swing it as the right thing to do.
The Chargers never led in the game, right? I don't think they did.
No, they did not.
I think they got ahead on the scoreboard for a second when they scored, and then they took it off the board.
Yeah, no,
twice.
They took the lead a couple times for 20 seconds, and then the ref said no. But no, they never officially had the lead.
All right, let's get a call from Devin in Pennsylvania. Devin, what up?
Oh,
no. We lost Devin. All right. Actually, I think that's going to be a wrap for us. We were going to get a couple calls, but I think that's a wrap. We will be back on tomorrow. We're going to do some we're going to start getting you guys ready for Cowboys versus Eagles. We'll talk tomorrow about the Philadelphia offense versus Dallas defense. Till then, for Nick Eatman, Dave Hellman, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!